God told Noah to build an ark because it's going to rain. Right. And not only that, but he was to gather 2 of every animal. And you know, I often thought, I wish he'd have left them mosquitoes alone. Don't you?
Yeah.
Boy, they bite and hurt, don't they? It's later. But what I have thought about so often is Lot's wife. Not Lot. Noah's wife. Can you imagine how her friends used to tell her, "What your crazy husband doing building a boat and it's never rained before?" But when it started coming, they changed their tune, didn't they?
Yeah.
Those who didn't believe, because it was only Noah and his family that got into the ark last year, or a year before last, sometime in the not too distant past. I heard about this place up in, is it Ohio land?
About the ark?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kentucky.
Where?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. And Ann and I went up there. And you know, I was surprised how big that ark was. No wonder it took him so long to build it. He didn't have the electrical equipment like we have today. I mean, it was humongous, and we spent almost all day just going through it, and we had to rush to do that. And to be on board with all them animals.
It had to be a crowded space.
Sir?
It had to be a crowded space because they were all in that ark.
Uh-huh. They had them in cages when we went through, but they were stuffed animals in the cage. They were real on the ark. But God told Noah to build the ark, but it was going to rain, and it rained.
And it rained.
Rained a whole lot. Rained for 40 days.
40 nights.
Yeah.
Could you imagine living on an island that's just floating and it took 40 days and 40 nights to let the water to rise up? That's crazy.
It would be. But you know what we need to do? Those who listened to Noah got inside the ark and they were saved. And when we listen to Jesus and get in the ark of safety, we are saved too. Father, thank you for so many stories in your word that fascinate us today. Bless us as we seek to do your will. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I think I'll just stay here. I got Twinkie up here today. If you have your Bibles or would like to turn with us, we're going to be in the book of Job. Job chapter 23, beginning in verse 8 through verse 10. Job 23. And these are the words from the Lord. Behold, I go forth, but he is not there. And backward, but I cannot perceive on the left hand where he does work that I cannot behold him. He hideth himself on the right hand that I cannot see him. But he knoweth the ways that I take. Where he hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. All of us have had things to happen to us that we cannot explain. That have blessed us tremendously, and as a result, I'm talking about the occasion when a blessing comes without any effort on our part. It came right when we really needed it. And all we could do was say, thank you, Lord. I knew God was in it. There are some who have had unexplained medical conditions. And the doctors would give one word, and after a while, they would be scratching their head, not knowing why the person had changed as they had. We are not one in line for a blessing from God or an opportunity, maybe in the job, but somehow or the other, it appeared out of nowhere for us. We may have been in an accident and didn't get a bruise or a broken bone, or maybe not even a scratch. And people scratched their head and wondered, how in the world did that happen? When we see God in a strange way with things that happen in our lives, it changes our thinking and living. And God changes the negative into the positive. But you know, God's footprint is so big. When he steps in, everything else changes about us. God has stepped in my life many times. And the situation that I was fighting, God fought the battle for me. I tell you that God has your battle too, whatever that battle might be. And not only that, but he shows up suddenly. You can get ready for it. You can't get ready for it. There's nothing you can do to make it happen. It just happens. You could never have made it happen, but you never could put it together the way God did for you. God has the ability to interrupt circumstances. We call that divine interruption. And when God does a divine interruption, God provides the divine provision for us. What we need to understand is that the things we have is not as good as what we're going to get. Job said, when God is finished, I'm pure gold, or I'm like pure gold. Some of us have told God we will do whatever we understand His will amazing how God is opening doors and closing doors and opening doorways that do not exist so that we can do His purpose. Often we don't see God working, but God's unseen hand guides and controls. God tears down and God builds up. That unseen hand is called God's divine providence. Isaiah chapter 46 verse 10 wrote, I declare the end from the beginning, and from ancient times things not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will accomplish all my purposes. In other words, God is saying to us, I will provide. I will see to it that everything works together for the good to accomplish my purposes through your life. God acknowledged the future. Not only everything is actually happening, but also things that are potential to happen in our lives. We know the power of God is working every day, even though we cannot see His hand directly. His presence is felt. Even in our sickness and times of trials, those of us who are faithful to God, God is directing and showing us the way to go. That's a good thing. We endure during the moments that God is working in our situation, that we might be as gold, as He says in verse 12 or 11. For He knoweth the ways that I take. When He hath tried me, I shall come forth as gold. You know, when we gold is not afraid of fire. Gold is made pure through fire by burning the dross out of our lives. So as Job responds to the unfortunate circumstances that he finds himself in the first few chapters of Job, Job is expressing his faith in God. He would come through as pure gold, so Job says. Job is admitting that he could not get through to God, and yet he hung on to his faithfulness and confidence that God was involved in his life. Job seems to understand what he could and should do in his present crisis. Job was a righteous man, and he tells us in the book that he had obeyed the Mosaic law. He had not disobeyed it at any point. He had never broken the law. So Job was in the crisis situation of losing his health and losing his wealth and almost losing his entire family. So Satan caused difficulty in Job's life, not because Job had done anything sins or whatever. Despite this growing number of frustrations that Job had and crippling circumstances that came into his life, Job hung on to his faith and maintained his relationship with God. Job told 3 friends who sat with him that he looked to the left and to the right, and he could not find God. He looked high and low, but God was not available for him. But he knew that God was involved in his life. He said, I know the way I take, but when he finishes with me, I shall come forth as gold. Job's assurance that God is aware of his faith and his lifestyle and his commitment to the Lord, understanding the reason he felt assured that God would turn his situation around. And if you read the last part of the book of Job, you remember that God turned his situation around and blessed him with twice as much as he had before he went into it. The thing I love about the story of Job in the furnace, but it was the furnace God had appointed in him. And when you find yourself in the furnace of suffering, just remember that God had allowed you in the furnace, and he keeps his hand on the thermostat, and he knows just how hot to make it. When God puts people in the furnace, he keeps his eye on the clock, and he knows just how long to leave us in the furnace. We may question why he does it to begin with, or why he doesn't turn down the heat or even turn it off. But our questions are only evidence of our unbelief. Job in verse 11 through 12 says, my foot hath held his step, his way have I kept, and not declined, neither have I gone back from the commandments of which of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. There are things that happen in our lives where we cannot see God in them, but we can be assured that he's behind the scene. God is actively at work in what's going on with us. God keeps providing for our necessities, even when we're in the furnace of suffering. Even in our low moments, it turns out that God was working. I know when I went to New Orleans Seminary, I left the church down in near Ripley, Tennessee. Without a job, my wife didn't have a job. We had a car payment over $2,000. Had no idea how we was going to be able to live. But we got down there, and when we came back to Tennessee, we had more money in the bank and didn't know anything. Isn't it amazing how God steps in, His unseen hand keeps us afloat? Where we look, we may not see Him. But after we pass through the hard times, we can look and see how God was moving things in our lives for His glory and His honor. God opens doors for us. And it's interesting how He does it. He leaves them open long enough if we're willing to walk through. I'm reminded of the Hebrew children when they came to the Red Sea. The water was in front of them, and the Egyptian soldiers were behind them. But God opened it up so that they could walk through, it says, on dry ground. He made the water as though it gelled. And He kept it gelled enough for all the Israelites to get through. But then when Pharaoh's army came, he let the water flow. They were trying to destroy the Israelites. But God kept the door open long enough for them to make it through. In my life, I have heard sermons when I was at my lowest point. I have not only heard sermons, but the scriptures that God directed me to read. And some of the songs that I heard had a way of assuring me that God was directing my life. Isaiah says, "They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength, and they shall mount up on wings of eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." David said in Psalm 121, verse 1, "I will lift up my eyes to the field, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, who made heaven and earth." He'll be there in the days ahead. Why believers undergo difficulty and suffering, most of the time has no explainable reason. Jeremiah said, "I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an unexpected end." I don't know what tomorrow holds, and the song says it so well, but I know who holds tomorrow. I know not what God is doing right now, but I know that God is in control. I also know that He already is ahead of me about what is going to happen tomorrow. I know when I had my stroke, I could not see God in it. After I have gone past the stroke time, I've been able to look back and see how God was working. so I would not have to be immobilized completely. One lady came in to see me while I was in the hospital and was telling me of people who had strokes and died. And my oldest daughter, who is very plain spoken most of the time, said, "Ma'am, you see that door, you need to leave. My daddy doesn't need to hear these sad tales." It's amazing how God made people come to my rescue. It doesn't matter what the future brings, as long as we are on the Lord's side. I read this past week, and I thought I'd share it with you. Crosses, there will never be a cross that we won't be able to bear. Mountains that we won't be able to climb. Enemies that we won't be able to defeat. Battles we won't be able to win. Darkness so dark that we cannot continue to see the light. Trials we can't make it through. Tests we won't be able to pass. I also read about a sculptor who sculptured a horse. And people were so fascinated with the horse. And it caught the attention of everybody that passed by. One day someone asked him, "How did you make such a beautiful horse out of such an ugly piece of stone?" And he simply said, "I chipped away everything that didn't look like a horse." And that's exactly what Jesus is doing in our lives. He's chipping away everything that does not look like Jesus the Christ. That is what God is doing in our lives. Through the loss of a job, through the loss of a loved one, through it all, God is at work in our life, chipping away everything in our lives that does not allow us to look like Jesus. I have learned this. If God brings you to something, God will lead you through it. God was powerful enough to help you descend into the valley. He is also powerful enough to help you climb the mountain. An artist saw a beggar with his dirty clothes, unshaved. He saw this beggar looking like a beggar. And he decided he would paint him like he was a successful businessman and had a wonderful family. When he had finished the painting, he invited the beggar to come in and look at it. And he said, "Who is that?" He said, "It's how I see you." The beggar made this statement when he saw it. "By God's grace, I'm going to become the kind of man that you see me." We need to encourage other people so that we can see them and they can see themselves the way that they can be. When the final whistle blows, the game of life will be over. And believe it or not, we will be, if we are a believer in Christ, just like Jesus. The same God that stepped out from behind the curtain of nothingness and spoke the world into existence is at work in my life and at work in your life. The same God who kept some estimate 4 million Israelites alive on manna and water for 40 years in the wilderness is the same God that is at work in your life and in my life. The same God that took care of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were thrown into the fiery furnace and came out with not even a hair on their head singed. And the fire was so hot that it burned those who threw them in. Is the same God that is at work in your life and my life. The same God is alive that has made blind eyes to see and deaf ears to hear and dumb tongues to speak. And the same God that was able to crash funerals, and the same God that resurrected Jesus alive is the same God that is alive today and willing to work through your life as a believer. Thanks be to God, I'm not what I used to be. I'm not what I should be. I also know I'm not what I'm going to be. I'm confident of this very thing, that he which has begun a good work in me and you will bring it to pass until we live in heaven with Jesus. The Lord doesn't give up on us. And I pray that the Lord doesn't give up on me yet. I may be just a chunk of coal, but I'm going to be a diamond one day, and so will you. Some of you have heard the black singer by the name of Andre Crouch. He sung a song on the Billy Graham crusade I saw some time ago. The song says this: I've had many tears and sorrows. I have questions for tomorrow. There have been times I didn't know right from wrong. But in every situation, God gave me blessed consolation that my trials come to only make me strong. Through it all, I learned to trust in Jesus. I learned to trust in God. I learned to depend upon His Word. I've been to lots of places. I've seen lots of faces. There have been times I felt so all alone. But in my lonely hours, precious, lonely hours, Jesus let me know that I was His own. Through it all, I learned to trust in Jesus. I learned to trust in God. I learned to depend upon His Word. I thank God for the mountains. I thank Him for the valleys. I thank Him for the storms He brought me through. For if I never had a problem, I wouldn't know God could solve them. I'll never know what faith in God could do. Through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. I hope that is a testimony for you too, that you have learned to trust in God, even when you cannot see Him. Some of you could tell testimony after testimony how God has been so real to you when you were able to see Him. It may have been a sickness, it may have been a death in the family. It may have been a number of things. Would anyone like to share something special God has done in your life that you couldn't see it at the time?
I'd like to say something. Back in 2008, I had a massive stroke. The doctor said 85% of the people that have the stroke that I have die. And I was blessed. God didn't let me die. And that was my road back to Him. He gave me another chance, and I didn't want to waste this one. So I made good of it. God bless you.
Anybody else? Well, I lost my dad. And I really missed him. I lost my mother. And I really missed her. I still do miss her. I didn't lose them when they died. Every once in a while, I'll think of something I need to call and ask Mother about. Have any of you ever done that? And then I lost, my wife died, and somebody told me, or told someone else, Otis lost his wife. And you know what I told him? No, I didn't. I know where her body is. It's in a cemetery down in Jackson, Tennessee. And her soul is with God. Father, help us when we cannot see you to know that you are at work around us. Help us when we look to the right, to the left, to up and down, and we cannot see you. We know that you're still on the throne, working in our lives. Now, Father, as we go to the dinner over in the fellowship hall, bless the food and the nourishment of our bodies. For we ask it in Jesus Christ's precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Is it all right?